What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? AJ Good here at the House of Masks, where we unbox and review cool shit almost every single day. But today, we instead are going to be talking about a topic that I recently saw discussed on an Instagram post, and I have seen this topic discussed and debated for far too long, so I am here to set the record straight. Nothing irks me more than putting the time and the effort and the research and the money into this hobby, only to end up arguing with a 15-year-old that has a Slipknot fan page on Instagram, and only posts photos that they found on someone else's fan-run Instagram account. So I have teamed up with Slipknot veteran Anthony Mazier to bring you a new series called Common Slipknot Misconceptions, where we will be discussing and debunking common Slipknot misconceptions. So episode 1, the topic at hand is Jim Root and the bondage hood, or Josh Brainard and the bondage hood. Because for whatever fucking reason, no matter how apparent it is that Jim wore the bondage hood, people will still not believe you when you talk about Jim wearing the bondage hood. No matter how much photographic evidence exists, whether or not Josh talks about Jim wearing the bondage hood, or even Jim talks about wearing the bondage hood.
I ended up wearing a bondage hood that was a size too small for my head, so my sweat was just filling up inside of this thing, and my ears were literally under water, under sweat, and it was, I couldn't move, and it was pushing my jaw back, and it was just extremely uncomfortable.
Motherfuckers still want to feel like they know something, and will most certainly argue that. That's not Jim, that's Josh! I'm serious, some of these kids don't even know the Josh that they're referring to when they talk about this topic. Josh Brainard? Brainard? The fuck are you even saying? Okay, so let's sort this out right now, once and for all. Yes, Josh Brainard was the original Slipknot guitarist to wear that bondage hood. But when he left the band and Jim joined, Jim sported the hood for a while. There is one live show, and many photos of Jim wearing this hood. Now, as I showed before, both Jim and Josh have both confirmed that Jim wore the bondage hood, but I will show that again for some of the slower members of the audience.
I ended up wearing a bondage hood that was a size too small for my head, so my sweat was just filling up inside of this thing, and my ears were literally under water, under sweat, and it was, I couldn't move, and it was pushing my jaw back, and it was just extremely uncomfortable.
And once more, for the record, here is Josh wearing the hood, and here is Jim wearing the hood. Notice the difference in the size and stature of the human wearing the mask, as well as how the mask looked when worn. Now let's dive deeper into the details. Who is wearing the hood on the self-titled album cover? Josh. Josh was the person in the original photo, and the purple hair was later photoshopped in when Jim joined the band. The original album releases that still had purity on the record shows the purple. This was later removed for some unknown reason. Now the photos inside of the album booklet are Jim. This was also confirmed by Josh. But Josh had long hair and Jim didn't. Yes, Josh had long brown hair under the hood. This is apparent in photos of him, but Jim also had long hair back in the day, as you can see here. I'm assuming this was not super comfortable to wear with that hood, and Jim ended up cutting his hair pretty quickly and ended up dyeing it purple. Now when he switched to the Jester, he obviously had short blonde hair. I'm assuming that he probably bleached his hair to get rid of the purple, and then immediately dyed his hair back to dark, which is why we got a very brief blonde Jim. Alright, you guys all still following? Jim had long hair when he joined the band. Cut it shortly after because the bondage hood probably sucked ass to wear with long hair. Dyed his hair purple for the bondage hood. Realized that the bondage hood sucked. Switched to the Jester. Now along with switching to the Jester, he also cut his hair and bleached it. We continued to get the Jester, and we immediately got dark-haired Jim back. Making sense? Cool. So more specifically, in Jim's first show, it was a Minnesota show, you can clearly see him in the bondage hood. It's definitely him based off of the mannerisms and movements, as well as size and stature. Now Jim's second show, very shortly after, we see him with his Jester and short blonde hair. Then Ozfest, a few shows with short blonde hair before dyeing it back to a dark color again. And literally by the time they made it to the Amkey Ozfest.fest show, whatever that one was called, his hair was re-dyed to a darker color. But nonetheless, Jim did wear the bondage hood. He used this in a fair amount of photos and at least one live show. It is a well-documented fact. Please stop spreading false information based on something that you read 10 years ago on an already outdated website that you found on the first page of Google. Now, a huge shout out to Anthony Mazier for hooking me up with so much of this information and so many photos and helping me with this video. I definitely appreciate it, and we both hope that you have learned something. So this has been episode 1 of Common Slipknot Misconceptions. I hope that you guys have enjoyed it. I'm your host, AJ Good. Thank you very much for watching. Say no to drugs and alcohol, and until next time, we will see you later.
You need to put a mask on. I hate AJ girls don't wanna ask for. Catch me fucking poppin' wheelies, driving like the NASCAR. Mask on, mask on, mask on, mask on. You might see him off in traffic, he be moving around. I hate AJ girls.